Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to something a little different. So, a lot of the videos that I have made on the games are still in work. So sorry for the wait. I just ran into a lot of busy stuff. Um, Trying to get ready. I'm having a kid, so I'm trying to get ready for all that. Work, full time job, and of course, just a lot of insane problems with just making videos. Like, Quarry Chapter 2 got. Didn't record the game audio, and so I sat on it a long time trying to recreate all my movements and stuff, which was already impossible because one of the very first things I did was found something that I couldn't find before. So ultimately, those are still coming. I'm probably going to start from scratch on the quarry. Thank y'all again for waiting on me. If you're waiting on any of those videos, if you're all enjoying those, if you're subscribing to me because of all the stuff I've done on TikTok recently, thank y'all there. And I hope to see y'all keep watching. But, moving on from that, one of the very first things I wanted to do on the channel was being able to talk about a lot of things that I like, not just video games, but, comics, though I read very little comics, anime, manga, maybe you count comics as manga. Anyway, a lot of those things I have been wanting to talk about reviews and doing reviews and discussing my thoughts on stuff, and I haven't had a chance to do that. I wanted to start originally with Sonic Movie 2, waited too late, all the hype died down, figure probably just start that later on, and what should come up but Dragonball, superhero. It's a movie that I've enjoyed. I've watched it about 3 times now. Because I keep taking multiple different groups of friends and family to go see it. And so, about 3 times in, my thoughts on this stuff I think is fully settled. And I wanted to give a chance to kind of cover it, talk a little bit about how I feel about it, and maybe try and do something a little bit different than the other reviews, but you'll see in a sec. So, starting off with just kind of a spoiler-free review if you somehow haven't watched this, because by the time I'm recording it, let alone how long it's probably going to take me to post it, it's already been 2 weeks since the movie's come out. Most people probably know everything. Social media is already spoiling stuff on stuff that happens in it. But Dragon Ball Super Superhero is a really good watch. It's fun. It pays a lot of homage to classic Dragon Ball-ish humor and facts and trivia. If you're an old school, or I wouldn't say old school, but a deep fan of the lore and the little tidbits and stuff, you will really enjoy all the Easter eggs and everything that's in this film. I think that Toriyama set to do not something as steak heavy was what he really wanted to do, and it really shows. There's not as strong tension or super big mystery into it. They pretty much reveal the plot from the beginning of the film, and that honestly is okay. Me being me on Dragon Ball, I just like the content. At this point, we know we're still technically in that 10-year gap between the end of the Majin Buu fight and the end of Dragon Ball Z. So you still know where things are going, so giving that opportunity to just give some space and just have some fun, definitely needed. This is definitely a Piccolo film, though. That is something that is super important. Before I talk too much into spoilers, this is definitely, if you're a big fan of Piccolo, of Gohan, you will enjoy this film. If you're in it for the latest adventures of Goku, or Vegeta. You have some moments in there that are nice and fun, but you will ultimately be, I think, a little disappointed. This is a Piccolo and Gohan film. Okay, so moving on into the overall plot beats of the film and what I liked and disliked about that, and we're going to start getting into spoilers here, so obviously turn off the video now if you don't want to somehow be spoiled in this movie that's already been out for 2 weeks now. But I did still, like I said before, I very much liked the overall things that happened in this movie. The character interactions are perfect. Like they're the reason to watch the movie. If you're just wanting to watch Akira Toriyama have a whole bunch of characters go do a thing, or having these Dragon Ball characters that you like go and just do things and just delve deeper into all of this stuff, it is by far really good. But in terms of the last half of the film, I think tries to be very dramatic, like it's do or die time, as Piccolo says in the movie. It's like a very end of the world dramatic fight, but there's a lot of lost tension because of the movie primarily focusing on the comedy and these character dynamics that I don't really feel like when you in like normal Dragon Ball like stories, these characters are getting introduced to these people and then they're fighting against these people and realizing how strong they are. But in this movie, it's almost like the reverse. We get an introduction of all of Dr. Hedo and Magenta and Carmine and the Gammas, and they are being introduced to the Dragon Ball characters. And so I feel like there's definitely a loss of like tension discovery in terms of their strength in this. Like Gamma 2 had a fight against Piccolo in the very beginning of the film. And it says that he's completely outclassing Piccolo. They all talk about how he easily dispatched of Piccolo, like he fought Piccolo and won. Piccolo comes back even stronger later on in the film, and he still says, oh, that's not enough. But it never really feels like Piccolo is at a complete loss throughout the entire film. Gamma 1 and Gohan never felt like it was a complete loss throughout the film. Cell Max and Piccolo and Gohan versus Piccolo or Gohan did not feel like it was a complete loss. Like if we're fighting against, like when Cell Max fought against Krillin and Gotenks and Android 18, you felt that like they were being stomped. There was like a fight there. But since, and we'll kind of cover this a little bit more later, since Piccolo and Gohan get such a huge power up and just feel as strong as they are, I don't believe that they're as in much trouble as they feel like they're trying to be. And that doesn't necessarily, Dragon Ball has a huge problem with that because right now we're in this 10-year gap. Of course, they're going to be safe. Of course, you're probably going to expect them to come out safe at this point. Either way, even if we were past C, but you don't, I don't feel like they believe it, even though they say they think it. You know what I mean? And I think that hurts the film towards that fighting aspect. But all in all, the character dynamics are by far the 10 out of 10 reason to watch this. The lore drops, the Easter eggs they do, all a reason to watch this. So there are two big beats to talk about in the story, but I did want to give one little special highlight out to Pan, who I think was arguably one of the new, like a new character in a sense. Like we never really got a small sense of fleshed outness outside of GT from her. So to have Pan reintroduced, I guess, is a nice little breath of fresh air. Like, she's very entertaining to watch, very fun character to go with, and like play around with Piccolo and everybody else involved. Like, she didn't, I don't think, ever really talked about Piccolo in GT or did anything with Piccolo in GT. And of course, that she would be involved with that, with Gohan being a very big part of with Piccolo and everything. Like, of course, they would mesh more. Honestly, watching all the stuff with Pan makes me really wish that she did end up being the chosen one of Z, like the little last fight of Z or something. Like, it still feels weird that is still not a major factor. Like, I would love a future movie to just be almost entirely about because we had so much of Pan, and Pan is a character I really liked to see fleshed out. Now I'd really like to see fleshed out in a different way in this world that has been vastly changed with Super versus GT. Will it happen? Probably not, but a man can dream, right? The two biggest aspects of this film, though, I think, to talk about are Orange Piccolo and Beast Gohan. The forms by themselves are really... if you want to just talk about forms and having them being powered up, that's awesome. I really never felt like Piccolo deserved to be pushed down as hard as he did, with the fact that he trains harder than pretty much everybody except for maybe Tien in terms of strength. I feel like he should be catching up to all of this, so to have him have that final power boost and have him be a bigger part of the finale, I think is deserved. Gohan, I was always, growing up, just like everybody growing up, Gohan and his moment in the Cell games was huge on me. Like, seeing that kid who explodes and comes into his own was awesome. He was my favorite character. And growing out of it, I became more of a fan of Goku and everything was going on. But that never meant I never lost my love for Gohan. Having Beast Gohan is awesome because you always kind of wondered, well, what goes beyond Ultimate Gohan if he can use another form like that? We've wondered that for years. So having Gohan Blanco or Beast Gohan come in was really cool. The designs of both of them are very different compared to what Toriyama's been giving out for Goku and Vegeta. Piccolo's very bulky. Gohan has super hair. He doesn't look like Super Saiyan with a different hair color. Like, it's huge. And while I do think the forms deserve a little bit like more time for me to like maybe get more used to them, for them to get more used to like drawing them and figuring out. There's a couple shots I think that really work well for both of them. There's some shots that don't look good. Like, there's a final scene where Gohan's hair is just and it's all the way up here, and then like, whoa. I was more disappointed with how they got the power-ups than anything else. So, to kind of explain that, just to recap, Piccolo got his power from wishing on Shenron to unlock his dormant power. One small gripe, there was a lot of like, oh, I'll go ask Dende to do it. Oh, Dende can't do it because of weird lore reasons. That, does it really need to be bothered if you're just going to turn around and probably, like, you could easily just say, you know what, we'll do it, or, hey, you know what, I can't do it, that's fine, well, let's go ask Shenron to get rid of the army. No, wait, let's just upgrade Shenron, which, why did we need to upgrade Shenron? No one just ever really thought of asking Shenron to do it to begin with, so why would it matter to take the time to do that? It just felt like, to show you things that happen in this world and how they did things, and explain it before, like what they did, so it didn't feel necessary. Anyway, Piccolo wishes for his dormant power to be unlocked, which unlocks the yellowish Piccolo, and then he gets a little something extra from the dragon, which is orange Piccolo. First off, all the interviews and stuff doesn't say it, but isn't. I've always kind of figured that this is always a callback to the red-eyed Namekian form that existed in Dragon Ball Online. If anybody sees this, and maybe I'll probably take another look at it later just to make sure I'm not crazy, but it feels like that was kind of like a weird existence thing that I feel like you could have just mashed in there without like totally reworking it. I don't understand why we had to do that. On the other side of the spectrum, Dragon Ball has a huge theme of overcoming your own limits through training, through hard work, and then there's also these moments of like, oh, we have to persevere through like an intense thing, like the Super Spirit Water in the original Dragon Ball. I didn't hate because it came at a cost. You had to fight for your life to do it. You had to literally work yourself to the bone in a different sense to obtain that power when Goku got that against King Piccolo. This one was just simply wishing for it, which this whole argument got brought up in, for anybody who hasn't seen the manga, this whole thing has happened in the Granola arc. And what happens there is that there's a cost to it, but there isn't a cost here with Piccolo. For one, that's weird. For two, it was discussed in the Granola arc that the person who wishes for this to be stronger, or to be the strongest, got the power but didn't know how to utilize the power well enough to be effective with it. And so, me personally, you already have that thematic beat on this side of the spectrum. Why I imagine these stories are going off at the same time. He's probably writing both of these at the same time, and maybe came up with this before he came up with Orange Piccolo, before he came up with Granola and everything. But there was a reason for like continued growth, and like just because you unlock your dormant power doesn't mean you know how to use it. And I feel like that's just a very easy explanation to say, oh, like, yeah, I pulled out your inner power, but it's not something extra I'm just randomly giving you. You just don't know how to use your power corrective. And then have him progressively get stronger in the fight, or as the fight goes on, would have been, I think, a small thematic thing to workshop on. So on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have Gohan. And poor old Gohan. Since about 2015, this dude has been under this weird circle of, arguably longer than 2015, because a lot of people have said, well, Gohan's supposed to be the strongest, why isn't he able to keep up with Goku, why isn't he being the big hero at the end of the Buu Saga, all that. That's a whole discussion between the fandom. That's been done. I'm not touching that. Personally, I'm okay with whatever they choose to do. If they choose to keep Gohan a family man or keep him as a strong super warrior, personally, I would rather have him be on the scholarly side, but focusing maybe on just being the best him and best, keeping fit, but keeping the best him that he can be. Yeah, he doesn't need to be the strongest because he doesn't want to be the strongest, but he knows how to need to protect his family whenever he needs to. I think that happy medium is something that should be brought into a different focus than the way they kind of beat on Gohan in like a comedic sense, that, or this angry, upset sense that the fandom does, that, Gohan isn't what he can be, but rather the story could easily go into a thematic idea of Just because you can be doesn't mean you does that mean you have to be. And so that whole idea I would have preferred being explored a little bit better than what it did in this film, because this film prioritizes Gohan and Piccolo. So like having that actually brought to the forefront and being an idea or the thought of Gohan's mindset in this film would have been far more interesting to me than, oh, you've just lapsed again, well, get angry. And boom, your power comes back to you. I don't think that Gohan at this point deserves that, because he got his strength back in before the Tournament of Power, and in the manga he's been keeping up and staying super strong and having really good fights. So I think that part is done. You can move past that. You can maybe discuss a different idea of it. Like, one thought I had was Gohan doesn't know these guys like he did Cell. Like, they're not, to him, they're kidnapping his little girl, but they're not vicious super killers. So why does he need to kill them? Why does he need to go all out against them like he did with Cell? They haven't proven themselves that evil. So keeping Gohan in a pacifist mindset versus, his problem he had during the Cell Saga, but in a different sense, not living up to his potential because he's not wanting to go to his full potential, but just because he's trying to remain pacifist or more peace-loving, I think would have been a better idea to implement for Gohan in this film than you've lapsed, you're weak, get angry to get strong again. Here's a weird new form that happened because you got angrier while you were super strong already. I think that would have been a better thematic beat to continue a conversation in a different sort of way, if that makes any sense. Continuing on that whole idea of pulling the past back out, Cell Max, I actually really do think was an awesome take on it, because it could have just been Cell, Resurrection Cell, but I like that there was a twist to it there, because you've already done Frieza's return. I don't think Cell returning would match as equally emotionally as that, because what else are you going to do? Are you just going to keep bringing back villains? So using Cell in that way where he's not the exact same was awesome. I really did like that. I don't like that it was just a complete scream fest. I would have liked like words or something, but just like an occasional yelling word or two. But I think it did work more than I think a lot of people do. But that pretty much wraps up all my major thoughts on the film. I highly recommend watching Dragon Ball Super Series. Blah, blah, blah. That's how much of a tongue twister it is. I highly recommend watching Dragon Ball Super Hero as much as you can and as often as you can while it's still in movie theaters. Make it loud, make it proud that you want to see more Dragon Ball content, that you want to see it last a little bit longer in theaters than just like a simple event. I highly do think if you're in for a good laugh and you haven't really watched anything and you like Dragon Ball enough, I think you will enjoy this. And of course, if y'all have any thoughts on the matter, on like how y'all felt about the movie, on what you would like to see different in the movie, on what you think really worked in the movie, if you thought that I'm wrong on the tension or things like that, please let me know in the comments. Like, comment, all that jazz. It's really important to me. I'm really trying to do this review series with an idea of pulling from my creative writing history of like workshopping and constructive criticism, of pulling what I think works and what can work better if you tweak it this way versus just saying, hey, no, this is bad. this is bad and should be hated, and like saying, no, here's how we can work on this. Here's the things that we can do to see improve, whether it's in the medium or the content or the IP that we're talking about, or something that we can look at and go, you know what, I appreciate other works for that, for doing what that one didn't, or things like that. Just let me know if that's something that you would like to see a little bit more of, or if you just want me to straight riff on stuff. I guess I don't really want to do that. There's enough people who riff on enough crap, on YouTube and on the internet these days, that you're just fine. You can find your troll where you need it. But thank you guys for watching. I will hopefully have some more gaming content out soon. And as for more reviews, I was thinking about doing the granola arc really quickly, since that just wrapped up in the manga too. If anyone would like me to talk about that, if y'all haven't watched the manga or read the manga at all, and you're not interested, or if there's another movie or another thing that you want me to talk about or like to talk about with me, let me know. Again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see y'all later.